So Aston Villa move level on points with Nottingham Forest in 6th, Chelsea in 5th place. That is the position that everyone wants to be holding. Well, top 5 come the full-time whistle at about 6 o'clock on May 25th. Aston Villa beating Fulham 1-0 this afternoon. Yuri Tielemans' header was the difference, scored in the 12th minute. John McGinn's corner, whipping the ball into the box. Tielemans, the unlikely scorer, I suppose, from a corner. He said actually after the game that it was a set piece routine that Villa had worked on. I mean, looks pretty simple on the eye, ball in the box, player heads in, but there'll be just some intricacies to it, I'm sure. Only Palace and Arsenal have scored more goals from set pieces than Villa this season, excluding penalties. 16 for those two teams and 15 now for Villa. So yeah, everything's looking upwards. Last week was a real blow, firstly, in terms of Villa not being able to win a trophy for another season after losing badly to Crystal Palace 3-0. But that late defeat at City as well was body blow to Villa's chances of getting the Champions League. But after a few results have gone their way recently, then Villa knew they had to win today to make use of those opportunities that have been handed their way. And here we are with 3 games remaining. Villa at the moment are in a really strong position if you look at the table as it is now, but this will change obviously if Liverpool don't beat Chelsea and if Palace don't beat Forest. However, the remaining 3 games for Villa, it's interesting because this is 25% of the job done, beating Fulham today. 3 more games remaining against Bournemouth away, Spurs at home and Man United away. There was a question actually in the press conference, one of the last ones, somebody asked, Spurs and Man United, your last 2 games, Europa League finalists potentially, is that helpful? Emery kind of chuckled, gave a smile, and it said emphatically Bournemouth. Today we win, parked Bournemouth, and Bournemouth really is, you don't want to kind of use the cliche of it's a cup final, but well, it is. Villa have got 3 of them remaining, and I said this on the pre-match podcast. I'm going to kind of go backtracking on this walk and talk a few things that I've said in the past, as I usually do. But one of the things I said was, if you look at Forest and Newcastle, for example, they can be going to places like Selhurst Park or the Amex and saying, well, maybe a point wouldn't be so bad. And already that mentality is that, you don't have to win this game. You can make it up. I actually think it works out better for Villa, the fact that they simply had to win today. They have to beat Bournemouth, they have to beat Spurs, they have to beat Man United to give themselves the best chance. And while a point today would have felt bad, Villa could have technically still got in there, but not unless Chelsea and Forest had really dropped off a cliff in their form. So for me, 4 wins was always the recipe for getting into the top 5, and even then, who knows, it might not even be enough, but that's the best chance that Villa will have if they win 4 to get in the top 5. But that mentality of having to win, I think, will serve them well. I say that's also the mentality that Bournemouth have to get into Europe, and teams, no disrespect to Fulham's and Bournemouth's, because Villa were in a similar situation a couple of years ago, really, about returning to European football, and in Bournemouth's case, getting it for the first time. Brighton in the mix as well, but those sides are really playing for a reward that for them is just as good as getting the Champions League. It's for Villa, if that makes sense. So today, Fulham come to Villa Park and Villa beaten 1-0. The result is king here. We'll get into the performance in a bit. Then Bournemouth away next week. Obviously they've got Arsenal away this weekend. I fancy them so actually later on today, so by the time you watch this the result might even be out, but who knows. They'll fancy themselves to get something, considering Arsenal have that PSG second leg coming up, so good time to play Arsenal really for them. But the point being is that next week for both sides will feel like a cup final. It really is. That at this stage of the campaign, that's what you're trading in now. And as I mentioned, I just think Villa's mentality of you have to win, it brings about some sort of pressure, but I think that's how you get the best out of top players at this stage of the campaign. It separates the kind of pretenders to the teams who want it most. And last week against Palace, Villa didn't show up. I don't think much can, even if they get the Champions League, there's still no excuse for not showing up at Wembley and playing well enough to even compete with Crystal Palace for an FA Cup final place. But if you are going to go some way to trying to make up for that, it's to win 4 games and to give yourself the best shot of getting back in the Champions League. And if Villa don't get there, we know that, you know, the reasons why drop points earlier in the campaign. I'm not going to go through the games again. I seem to do it after every video that I do here. But we know where they are, those drop points. But today, all about 3 massive points that have been added to the board. As I say, teams have now got to do their job because Villa are hot on their heels. Bournemouth is just so big. Even after the game, before the game, I thought Villa would win today, and they did. So I had, maybe it was, I don't know, cheeky for me to kind of look ahead to Bournemouth, but I've been feeling nervous about that Bournemouth game for a few days now, and those feelings will, only get worse, I suppose, because it's huge. I do think that, as I said earlier, 25% of the job done, a quarter of it there. But I do think if you can beat Bournemouth, this isn't going to make sense in terms of maths, but that almost feels like you've done 70-75% of your job then, because the Spurs and Man United games. And I know Hugh and I was quick to kind of shoot those suggestions down that that's a positive thing for Villa, because he's right, Bournemouth is absolutely important. And he also mentioned if they don't win, if Villa hadn't won today, we weren't probably not talking about those last 2 games at all in terms of any relevance, apart from maybe just staying in 7th or getting 6th, just getting European football. But different conversation now because they won. If you go to Bournemouth and you win, oh wow, like that's like Villa really do mean business. And then you have Spurs, a side who will make changes. They have a decent squad, of course, it's Tottenham, but the league form has been absolutely abject. Villa have already beaten them at Villa Park this season in the FA Cup 4th round, and he'd back Villa to win on there what would be the final home game of the season, not being, as I talk now, confirmed when that game is going to be played. Running out of time now, of course, the Premier League to confirm when exactly that date of the game will be played. Spurs won it, played on Thursday, so give themselves more preparation time for a possible final against likely to be Man United. Bodo Glimt, of course, will have something to say for that at home, having beaten Besiktas, Porto, Olympiacos, Lazio, and by the margins they've won most of those games. If they do that again against Spurs, which they can, then they go to extra time. So Spurs haven't completed their job yet at all. Those are the last 2 games, but say Bournemouth is so big. It's hard to kind of, dwell's the wrong word, analyse too much about this game when the next one is already in the focus, I think, of many people's minds and the players, and that's the right mentality to have. On the performance today, though, I do think Villa were. I thought it was a very scrappy game, especially in the first half. Villa, I think, started pretty well. What I would say is you have to give them credit, because these 12:30 kickoffs, they can produce shocks, and it's very hard to feel a really strong atmosphere. Just entered May, the sun was out, it went in for this game, cloudy at Villa Park, but after a really disappointing week last week, I think the players, kind of up to them to, as Unai says, kind of transmit energy, so get the crowd up, and they did that for a period. They started well, but then the game got really scrappy, and Villa could have been 2-0 up, to be fair, before half time, because Tielemans has nearly picked out the top corner, Bernardo making a really good save. And after that, Ollie Watkins had a golden opportunity to make it 2-0 again. Matty Cash pulling the ball across the box, but Watkins couldn't get contact on the ball, couldn't sort his feet out. Later in the half, Morgan Rogers slipping the ball to Watkins. I think it was about the hour mark, I'm not too sure. And then Leno making a good save again. So, Villa, on the balance of kind of chances, they deserve to win the game, but it weren't very pretty. Not that really matters. Getting over the line is the key thing here, and Villa have kept a clean sheet, which might be kind of an underrated feature of this win, shall I say. Again, at this point in the campaign, win, but if you are going to do something as well, I guess win without getting too lucky. I don't know quite how to explain that, but it's lots of Fulham with pepper in Villa's goal, and were really unfortunate not to have scored themselves. That wasn't the case. Martinez kept, I think it was his 6th clean sheet of the league season, but didn't make a whole lot of saves, apart from obviously some routine ones, which is credit to Villa, of course. The back line, I thought Matty Cash was really good today, made a really important block. Joachim Andersen followed through as well with some studs So Cash picking up not literally an injury, but picking up probably a scar or something on his leg, I don't know. Take him off with the team to make that block. I think that was his 7th start in a row, I think, on Cash. So kind of credit to him for that performance. Ian Matson as well impressed me, going down the left side. There was a moment when Emery and Conser were exchanging some words. Emery had a go. He wasn't pleased with Conser relaxing, he said, in the post-match presser. And in general, just spoke about how some of his players were relaxing and he wasn't happy about it, and he let them know at half-time that he wouldn't tolerate it, wouldn't accept it, were his words. So not altogether happy, Emery, about the first half performance at all. But second half, he said, it improved, which I agree with. Sorry. You had other moments where Jackie Ramsey's pulled the ball across the box for Powell, can't quite again sort his feet out to score, and then Daniel Marlin causing problems off the bench once more and hitting the bar after we played one-on-one. Again, on the balance of chances, Villa could have won this much more comfortably, won it by a much more comfortable margin than just the one. I've said this about, and I really didn't want to say it at half time, but I don't recall Fulham playing well at Villa Park for a long time. I remember last season I was disappointed, so I was happy to see Fulham not play well at Villa Park last season, and this season really. But they disappointed me, if that makes sense. It's the wrong word. But they could have played much better last season. Didn't really show up this season. I felt like that as well. They do have some good players, but didn't quite take advantage of some opportunities and situations. So Villa in the end go out as well-deserved winners. But Silva was quick to kind of slam the referee after the game, saying that he's not wrong. I think only Fulham players were booked, but suggesting that presumably Villa players should have been booked as well. Mentioning that the referee slowed the game down, called up for fouls every time Villa players were on the floor, so it didn't help Fulham in transition, all of those sorts of things. What I would say is that I think Fulham players were quite consistently fouling Villa players, and maybe you'd look at it as an away fan and say, good foul, breaking up play and whatnot, but I think there were justified yellow cards for sure. So that would be my sort of response to Silva, I guess. Villa's home form, where are we now? 17 unbeaten in a row in the league. Second time Villa have done that, and it's obviously a record under Emery as well, so a joint record. We can make it. We're going to go one further against Spurs if you avoid defeat there, but you can see already, if Villa was to draw if they were to beat Bournemouth, and then draw to Spurs, it's a fantastic achievement, don't get me wrong, if you get 18 unbeaten, but if you don't win the game, it's not really it's a bit of a moot point, really. I had that in my first couple of paragraphs about Villa's home form, but Fulham had scored in the 95th minute. No one wants to hear that at the moment. It's it would have been a completely different sort of set of feelings, and to be honest, if Villa hadn't won the game, we'd be talking about missed chances, of course, but the general performance wasn't fantastic, but they did win the game, so it doesn't really matter, and again, a clean sheet to kind of top it all off. So a really a big afternoon because Villa have won. That's genuinely all that matters, I think, at this stage. They can see a top 5 challenge now. A few weeks ago, maybe after the City game, there was like, well, okay, if these set of results happen for other clubs, I don't know, Chelsea and Forest, you're kind of thinking, well, writings on the wall, maybe Villa will be finishing in the Europa League spots, which at the start of the season I think most people would have probably taken, because of the Champions League campaign that Villa have had. But instead, no, they are well among it. And again, I do think 3 wins, that's the only kind of concentration that Villa can have. So Chelsea going up against Liverpool at Stamford Bridge Sunday, Forest, Selhurst Park on Monday night. Of course, Villa need to finish up with 2 teams. Newcastle as well, Brighton away, Arsenal away, Chelsea at home, final day Everton at home. So that could be a possibility for Villa to catch as well. Catch the Magpies, but goal difference, not on Villa's terms there. So they will have to finish up with teams, I think, by points. Even Forest, if Villa's goal difference is better than Forest's. Doesn't matter because they will be above them anyway because of the points. Forest aren't going to win a couple of games and lose 12-0 or whatever it may be. If they have a better goal difference than Forest, they will be above them anyway. Same goes for Chelsea, who I think have got a much better, but significantly better really than goal difference than Forest anyway. So yeah, really entertaining couple of weeks to come. But that will only be the case if Villa can do the job against Bournemouth. It now becomes a situation where, you know, full focus after that night, after the full-time whistle, quickly changes to Saturday night against Bournemouth at the Vitality 5:30 kickoff. So yeah, focus quickly changes to what is another, dare I say it, cliche, I know, cup final next weekend.